Let's say good morning to the Admiral, Bill Stubblefield, former Berkeley County Commission president.
Good morning, Rob. Listening to Ian, Mike Hike been cranky. We recognize that. Yeah, Mike. But also, Hornby tells us to go out and have fun. Does that extend to us? Does Hornby tell us to go out and just have fun?
Mike is an easygoing, great dude to work for.
He is that.
And I'm not just saying that because today's payday.
but there's nothing wrong in saying it on payday.
If you're going to say it, you might as well say it on payday, Bill, is what I think.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, being payday.
Yeah. Our guest in this first segment is the treasurer of the great state of West Virginia, Mr. Larry Pack. He joins us via telephone on his tour of the state. Good morning, Larry. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Hey, good morning, Rob. Happy Friday and happy payday.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that on both accounts.
Yeah, it's always a good day. Always a good day.
Amen. As the Treasury Secretary of the state, I'm sure you recognize the flow of money and its importance, sir.
Yes. One thing we get right every 2 weeks, we get payday right, because you don't, it's people will get aggravated. So payday's important.
Yeah,
sure.
The state had a pretty good payday in April, Larry. The revenue numbers were fantastic.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, it's really just a continuation of what I've been talking about, over the last couple of years. I mean, West Virginia's economy continues to grow, continues to diversify. West Virginia is bringing in a lot of taxpayer money. So when you think of this $650 million that were brought in last month, or almost $650 million, these are monies that came from taxpayers, and our taxpayers are working hard, and they're making money and they're paying a lot of taxes. So we got plenty of money in Charleston. We don't need any more. So hopefully we'll get around sometime soon to get back to talking about tax cuts.
You now have a $237 million surplus through 10 months of the fiscal year. 2 months to go. It was about a month ago that the Senate Finance Chairman Jason Barrett projected a $200 million surplus for the year. We now have blown through that, and I anticipate this will be at least $250 million or more. Maybe your estimates are even higher, Larry. And this is particularly impressive because we've enacted 2 different state income tax cuts over the last couple of years, and a triggering mechanism that in the near future, again, I'm sure will kick in and generate another one, which means that truly entirely, this is not a COVID surplus budget that we're dealing with anymore. These are actual economic data generating a good state economy.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm going to push back a little bit on the COVID-generated surplus. The reason we had the huge surpluses for those 2 or 3 years really didn't have anything to do with the money coming in the federal deal. It had to do with the price of coal and the price of natural gas and the price of oil. The severance taxes is what boosted up our surpluses during those years. But even if you if you just take out the $1 billion a year tax cut that then Governor Justice allowed me to lead for the state of West Virginia, the surplus this year would be at $1.2 billion.
Yeah.
So we're still bringing in, our economy's still rolling. We're still doing well, but it was determined by Governor Justice, then Governor Justice, and the legislature at that time that we the state were taking in more money than we needed, and so we wanted to give it back to the taxpayers. But even after we've done that, the state of West Virginia's doing fine. We got enough money to do the things we need to do. Now maybe we need to prioritize things a little bit differently, but the state of West Virginia is bringing in sufficient money to meet the needs for the things they're supposed to do.
I appreciate the clarification on the COVID reference too, Larry. Thank you. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah. That gets out there a lot, and so we just need to correct the record. But like the price of natural gas currently is about $2 in MCF is the way they look at it. When you go back to some of those years, it was $8 or $9, and the amount of money that it brings in. I mean, steam coal was $250, and met coal was $500. Those are just enormous numbers. A lot of that had to do with the Ukrainian war. But both of those all three of those are commodities. They go up and they go down, and when they're up, West Virginia's taxpayers or West Virginia's coffers gets really fat really quick.
Good morning, Larry. Bill Stubblefield. I'm looking at the numbers.
Morning, sir.
Looking at the numbers as well. I noticed with the personal income tax, $88 million above estimate, whereas sales tax, consumer tax collection was only $6 million above estimate. Admittedly, there was more came in with personal income tax than sales tax, but I would have thought that the personal income tax would be easier to judge and to gauge than that of the sales tax. But yet the difference would imply just the opposite, that it's more difficult to judge the amount of money coming from personal income tax than sales tax.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Sales tax is a little bit more consistent, and it's also it's a really good gauge for the overall strength of the economy. Now, sometimes month to month you'll get some differences, some variances, just because of the way that we keep our records. Because, for example, when we bring in collect sales tax for the city of Martinsburg, for example, we may count that as revenue one month and a deduction from revenue the next month. But sales tax is a little bit more consistent, a little bit easier to predict. Personal income tax, particularly when you think about April, you're thinking about the time when people are paying. A lot of people pay or basically settle up and pay their state income tax. And so basically what that says is in 2024, West Virginians made a lot of money, and a lot of West Virginians had to pay taxes on April 15th due to the amount of money they made. So it was a really, really good month for us. Now, we passed a bill in the legislature that was a pro-taxpayer bill that might bring us back a little bit. So I'm staying at that same 200 number that we've been saying all year round, that you referenced. Senator Barrett was talked about. That's the information we gave them this time last year when the budget was passed. So we may bring back a little bit, but West Virginia's economy is strong. People are working hard, and they're paying a lot of taxes.
Yeah, Larry, you're traveling the state, returning money to the various law enforcement agencies from unclaimed property. Would you discuss that, please?
Yes, sir. Yeah, there's two reasons to travel the state, but I'll talk about the unclaimed property part. So we try to get around the state and basically bring awareness to the unclaimed property things that we do. So the one portion of that, the big portion of that, is to try to get money back to its rightful owners. So businesses, banks, insurance companies, they're required to turn over money that's not theirs, that belongs to an individual that they haven't been able to contact or identify. And so we have in Treasurer's Office, we have about $400 million that belongs to West Virginians that we're trying to find those West Virginians. We've given back this year about almost $40 million to West Virginians. So we do, when we travel the state for another reason, we try to get some TV coverage or maybe some radio coverage and newspaper coverage. Again, just trying to get people to go to the Treasurer's website to see if they have any money for themselves. My wife and I, right after I took this job, we did it. We're both CPAs, so we knew that we didn't have any money, but our folks at the office encouraged us to do so. We found out we had $300. So it doesn't matter how well you think you keep your records, there might be a check out there for you somewhere. So that's why we do that when we go around. It's the awareness part. Now, another part of unclaimed properties that we do is we work with the local police departments all around the state and help them clean up their inventory rooms. And if they have firearms that came in their possession due to some sort of criminal activity, and that case is adjudicated and finished, then they turn those firearms and ammunition over to us. We go through all the different federal requirements we have to do, and then eventually we have an auction and we invite federal firearms dealers from for really around the country, and they come in and bid on these guns and ammos, and whatever money we get from the guns, say it was the city of Martinsburg, we bring that money back and give it to the Martinsburg Police Department. So this week we did that with the Bridgeport Police Department. I think it was a little less than $20,000, and we also did that with the Bluefield Police Department. So again, we're just trying to bring awareness to the program. We're trying to get more police departments to participate. They use that money for equipment, for safety for the officers. So it's a really rewarding part of my job is be able to return that money back to our local law enforcement.
Going back to unclaimed property, I assume you use unclaimed property include unclaimed money as well as physical property. Is that correct?
Yeah, it can be like, in the old days it was more of a dormant savings account. What we're seeing now, we're seeing it's a check. It was a refund check, let's say from the local hospital or doctor's office that somehow didn't find you. Maybe you moved. Maybe the doctor's office had the wrong, or the hospital had the wrong address. We're seeing coupons. We're seeing gift cards, insurance refunds, claims. So it comes at us from a lot of different directions. And then what we do is we work as hard as we can to identify the owners and get the money back. So a lot of times it's people contact us, but it's also us contacting folks once we can identify them.
Now, go through with us very quickly how you would do this. And the related question is, can they look for unclaimed property in other states via your office?
We have, no, basically the money that comes in our office is from West Virginia. So if you think you have unclaimed property in the state of Ohio, then you got to search out who handles the unclaimed property in the state of Ohio. I think it's the treasurer's office, but every state's a little bit different on how that happens.
And in case of West Virginia,
our 400 million is all from West Virginians, and it also could be inheritances, right? Okay. It could be that as well.
Okay, for West Virginia, go to your web page, or can you do this for telephone?
Yeah, you go to the state treasurer's web page, look for the unclaimed property, click on that, and it'll take you right to it. Then what it'll ask you to put in your name and address, and that will tell us whether we have anything for you. And if that works, if you do, then there's a more detailed form that we ask you to put together. And if you're not sure about how to do that, then there's a number to call, and it'll be answered by a person, not by a computer. But by a person in Charleston, West Virginia.
So the bottom line is user-friendly, easy to access, and you encourage everybody to do this.
I absolutely encourage everybody to do it. So
Treasurer,
like I say, go ahead.
Treasurer Larry Pack, our guest here on the program this morning. And Larry, I want to ask you about your approach to Chinese AI on Treasury devices in West Virginia in light of news that broke this morning that Ireland is fining TikTok 530 I believe it was million euros for sharing personal information of users of TikTok with the Chinese government. Do you know much about any of that going on in West Virginia?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, we're just trying to bring some common sense policies to the state of West Virginia. We know that China, the Chinese Communist Party, really owns and or controls every business in China. That's just who they are, right? They're a one-party state. They have a dictator, and there's no such thing as an independent business. So anytime you do business with anybody in China, the Chinese Communist Party has access to that information. So basically, from the AI products that are owned or by that are offered by Chinese companies, we're just saying no. We're not going to put those on the Treasury's devices. We think it's just prudent. It's a way to go. It's kind of a continuation from what we did with the Bureau of Treasury Investments a few months ago, where we said we're no longer going to invest in any company that's owned by the Communist Chinese Party, the country of China, or the Chinese military. It's just common sense. They're working against our interests. Why in the world do we want to do business with them?
So I gather from that you'd say that TikTok should not be allowed to operate within the America. Is that correct?
I like the process of what we're trying to do. Is we're basically saying you're going to have to disengage TikTok, so you're going to have to sell it, and that's what President Trump's talking a lot, and I think that's what he's working on. He's trying to work to get them to understand that this is not going to continue. Again, that needs to be done on the national stage. Again, we don't allow it on our devices, but I think that's one thing President Trump's working really hard on to convince the Chinese folks that either sell it to someone else or we are going to close it down. And I think that issue will come to a head sometime this summer.
You are the Republican National Committeeman for the RNC for West Virginia. Do you get an opportunity to share your thoughts in regards to issues like these, Larry?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've been on the Republican National Committee for about 6 years. So I came on about midway through President Trump's first term. And the Republican National Committee is basically the board of directors of the Republican Party. So absolutely, we get the ability to weigh in. as to what we think and offer advice. But what President Trump's done in his first 100 days to me is just absolutely legendary. It's just amazing the number of issues that he's taking on, and we've got to get our country back. I particularly like the things that they're trying to do as far as getting a handle on our debt. The $37 trillion, what we're doing to our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, it's almost criminal. We should be ashamed of ourselves. And, cuts are not fun, and it's kind of clunky right now and looks a little ugly, but you got to try, and that's what they're doing. But, we've all went through that with our household budgets. We went through with business budgets. It's no fun, but we cannot continue to put this debt on the backs of our children and grandchildren.
Let's talk about the state legislative session.
Before we go, can we stay on Chinese AI very quickly?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
One more question. Larry, it's easy to say you're going to ban Chinese AI, and TikTok, everybody knows that's Chinese affiliated, but a lot of these are more subtle. How do you determine whether or not it is Chinese affiliated IA? There's a lot of IA on the market. So how do you make that distinction?
It's tough, but they're really good about almost camouflaging the ownership of products and companies, and that's something we just got to continue to work on and try to identify. But our technology folks are on that. Our investment people are also on that. But no, they're very sophisticated on trying to look like something they're not. So we just have to keep working hard, do the best we can to try to identify which companies are owned by the Chinese Communist Party and which ones are not.
You mentioned you're doing this in state. Is there a collective organization that will look at it for all the states, or each state on their own?
Well, from the treasurer standpoint and the fiscal officers, so that's something that our association, we work together and share best practices, and this is what I found. For example, in West Virginia, this is what they found. In Utah, I was just at a meeting, I guess maybe a couple of weeks ago in Orlando, and we talked a lot of different policy issues. So we're sharing information. We're working together. Each state is a little different, but I've never met a treasurer or comptroller. Sometimes they call them comptrollers in some of these states, that is not concerned about China and their desire to have our information, their desire to use our resources against us.
All right, let's talk about this past legislative session, and perhaps the biggest bill that came out of this from a non-education bill standpoint is the data center microgrid bill in this past legislative session that's projected to generate a lot of money for the state and for local county governments as well, as they'll get a 30% share plus a per capita distribution across the 55 counties. Are you being given any projections 2 or 3 years out as to what this could mean tax revenue wise?
No, I think it's really premature to count our money before it comes in. But I think what and one of the reasons is what a data center is and what it does and how many people employs. It's changing so much. So this is not a stagnant deal. When they first started these data centers, they didn't have a lot of jobs. Now they have more jobs. So that was one of the things you say about them was they don't provide any jobs. So it's changing really quickly as technology does. And so what our goal is, and what our goal was in the Justice Administration, and we almost brought it home. We just need to get the first one. And once we get the first one, then we can figure out how to divvy up the money and figure out exactly what to do. So what I liked about the bill, although it's probably a lot more complex than I felt like it needed to be, is it gives us some tools to be able to get that first one. I have no doubt that once that happens, that there will be a lot of adjustments in the code as we go forward. But I'm very excited that we are in the game when it comes to trying to get data centers. If you may remember, there was a data center that wanted to come to Southern West Virginia last fall. We tried to do a special session. We just couldn't get it all together. It was kind of a weird time. And all they wanted was the ability sometime in the future to create their own power. But currently they were going to deal with our local utilities. So again, we're in the game. I applaud the legislature, applaud Governor Morsi for getting it through. Like I say, from my take, it was probably a little bit more complicated. than I wished it would be. I do think we've complicated our tax code by doing it, and I also believe that we'll go back and readjust that.
Do we still have you, Larry? I think we hit a rough spot with your
Yes.
cell.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. We got you.
Larry, there's a lot of positive things about this, and I think most everybody will acknowledge that. However, there is some criticism as well, especially from the county commission, from two revenues or two aspects. One is which the money coming to the county commission is less than what they think they should have, even though folks would disagree with that. The other one is that it bypasses a lot of the local ordinances, zoning ordinances and the like. Could this have been handled better and not antagonize the county commissioners?
I think there's kind of two parts to it. So with the local zoning part, so I think what they want to do is if a data center company came in and they wanted to put something in Jefferson County that basically they didn't want to go through the process, whether it's companies didn't want to go through the process or the legislature didn't want to go through the process of doing all the zoning permitting for Jefferson County, for example, or Berkeley County, pick your county. I'm not so sure I would have done it that way, but that's the way it was done. I would probably have suggested that basically give the county commissioners this decision. But anyway, that's the way that was done. So again, it does bypass all the local permission rules and regulations that we have. I probably weigh in a little bit more on the tax part. Just the way our tax code works, the way our school funding works, I think you could have done it a lot simpler by letting the counties get the money they would get, just usual, and then they would have got less money out of the school funding school funding amount. I think we'd got to the same place with a lot less complexity. But I do believe that as things go forward, those tax allocations I think they'll be revisited.
It's an interesting point that you're making there, Larry, and it's one I think that's been discussed on the show.
We got oil and gas companies, for example. We got counties in oil and gas that don't take any money from the school funding formula because they get so much money from the oil and gas severance. I think it'd be great if we have a few counties with data centers that would do the same thing. That'd really help the state budget.
Yeah, Larry, I've got a minute left. It's yours. Any final thoughts?
Hey, I think we moved the ball down the field when it comes to a lot of proposals, a lot of things in the last legislative session. I'm hoping that as we move forward, that we will get back to tax cuts. I think this is probably the first session in a long, long time that we didn't pass any tax cuts. But overall, whether it was Riley Gaines' bill on the front end and getting moving on the data center on the backside, I thought we did a lot of good things. So I congratulate the governor, congratulate the legislature. We're going to continue to work West Virginia forward, move West Virginia forward. West Virginia financially is really, really strong. We all ought to be blessed that we live in West Virginia.
Larry, thank you very much. We always appreciate you carving out some time for us, sir.
Thanks, Larry.
All right, I'll come see you next month. Take care. Thank you.
Treasurer Larry Pack via telephone as he travels the state. Again, sincere appreciations for him carving out some time for us on the program here today after the state had great April revenue-wise.
They did have, yeah.